Who makes the most durable paints for customizing your leather shoes? We'll find out today. So with this leather swatch, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to prep it, and then I'm going to be testing 3 different brands of paint side by side. Welcome to my channel. I'm HJ from HJ Artistry. If this video is helpful, please like and subscribe. I've been wanting to do this video for a long time. C'est la Vic actually beat me to it, but I'll be testing out Angelus, Alpha6 and Jacquard paints. I'll also be using Angelus top coat, Alpha6 top coat, and Jacquard does not have a top coat to my knowledge, but I heard good things about LK Finisher, so I'll be using their top coat. Angelus is first, then I put Alpha6 in the middle, and then Jacquard is the last one. Usually I do some music in the background, but you get to listen to my lovely daughters make noise. This is also pretty much like an ASMR video because I want to make sure that you can actually hear when I am scratching against the leather and the paints. In my opinion, most people who do these type of review videos have a little bit of a bias because they are paid by a certain company to say, hey, these are the best paints ever. Guess what? I am not paid by anybody, and I'm going to give you my honest review. So here goes. Angelus paint had like a medium consistency. The Alpha6 seemed possibly a little bit thin, but it had a very matte finish to it. And Jacquard was the thickest of them all. So we're just gonna see with a little bend test how well do they hold up. And honestly, they all hold up fine with just bending the leather here. I'm going to be scratching this very shortly, and I'm not going to talk. I want you to be able to hear how it sounds when I'm taking a toothpick over top of the paint. Here you can see how much I did press that toothpick into the leather. Honestly, it seems to be holding up pretty decent. And then I'm going to go ahead and do another bend test. Honestly, right now, all the paints seem equally good. If you're like me, you may want to put this video on 1.75 speed or 2 speed, just so you can get your information even quicker. I'm not offended if you do that. I do that all the time. Right here is key. Angelus good. Jacquard good. Alpha6, if you look really closely, it is starting to scratch up. Do you see that piece of paint just flake off? If you look at the middle, it's starting to look like bing bongs. So looking at this, you can see every single one is scratched, but Alpha6 is actually like almost flaking off. It isn't just a scratch mark. It's like kind of peeling off, I would say. And as I scratch more, it gets even worse. Yes, right now it is pretty much all damaged. I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in as close as possible so that you guys can still see it and give you my opinions. So scratch test, this is how they fared. So this one to me looks the very, very worst. Can't really zoom in too well, but you can kind of see. And the Neopakes and Angelus are about the same. So, and I was really scratching pretty crazy. So This is with no sealer. So Angelus and Jacquard, I would say, are tied right now, but Alpha6 is not tied at all. Alpha6 is at the bottom. It's scratched off. They do recommend putting a flexible paint additive for Alpha6, but for me personally, why would I do that when I can get either of the other two and I don't have to pay more money for an additive? So what I decided to do is then remove all of the paint and retry this one more time. My thought is maybe in the middle it's more likely to crease. I'm not too sure. Maybe the outside has more durability, stability, something like that. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to remove all the paints and then I'm going to switch up the order in which I place the paints on that leather swatch. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the Angelus in the middle, and then on either side will be the Alpha6 and the Jacquard. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to talk about Selah Vic's video, which I'm going to put in the description below. You could check it out. She goes very in depth on these paints. She actually adds another paint to it, but she does not do the finisher. So we do have slightly different findings. Yes, I'm just going to tell you what I found out right now. So for her, she said that the Jacquard, if it is scratched, it can actually peel up over time. Mine, I did not have the same experience. The Jacquard actually held up pretty decent, but it could be because I used LK finisher on it. It could also be because the leather we used is slightly different, where hers was a little bit more soft and mine is more of a raw, hard leather. I'm going to go ahead and show a little bit of Vic's video just so then you can see what I'm talking about with the peeling.
Interesting thing from this point is that once the paint rips open, take a look at what's happening with Jacquard. Although it resists cracking very well, once it does crack or the paint gets cut open, the paint can start to peel quite dramatically. This is so important to note for painted customs because when they inevitably crease or scratch when you wear them, you don't want the entire paint job to just peel off.
So I've heard that LK finisher is supposedly the best there is. So I did put some of the finisher on different parts of the different paints. So I did it on Angelus and I also did it on Alpha6. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let this cure for 24 hours and then I'm going to come back and start scratching.
24 hours later.
Going to scratch again with the toothpick and then I'm going to use an Xacto knife. Long story short, they do scratch, but it's very fascinating how it holds up. If you want, you can fast forward it to the end so that you can see how it looks. Surprise, Alpha6 does not do as well as Angelus or Jacquard. And I'm honestly just trying to scratch it as many different ways and directions as possible. I also want to point out that I specifically recommend doing this on a piece of leather so then you are not ruining a pair of shoes if the paint does not hold up well. Here you can start to see the little teeny micro cracks in the Alpha6. Angelus does have a little smidge, and Jacquard actually looks pretty decent. A different angle, you can kind of see Jacquard holds up well, but now is the ultimate test. If you're like me, you've probably seen a few different videos from sponsored artists saying, check out this great top coat. Look, I'm scratching it super hard and it doesn't scratch at all because it's the very best top coat ever. Well, guess what? It's because they really were not scratching hard, because right now, not scratching very hard. I figured I'll just start lightly and then apply a little bit more pressure. If you are wearing customized shoes, don't do anything crazy with them. Don't take an Xacto knife to it to see how well the paint holds up. But this is just a good test to see if I want to wear my shoes for the next 2 or 3 years, how well will the design look in the long term. You'll notice here, you can definitely start to see the scratch marks. Final opinions on these with the top coat. Honestly, they all pretty much failed, but I don't think that it's possible to have a top coat that will be impervious to scratches. So mainly just using the toothpick test on the finishers, I will say that Jacquard, or maybe I should say Liquid Kicks, because that's the finisher I used, was the best. Then Angelus, and then Alpha6. Based on my tests that I've done, but also taking into account Vic's tests, it seems like Angelus does outperform Jacquard. Angelus, to me, seems like it's the best paint, and then LK top coat seems to be the best top coat. An idea that I think might be good is to see how LK top coat performs head-to-head with the Angelus 4 coat. I think a more fair comparison would be if I would use just the Angelus paints and then compare LK to the 4 coat, because that way I know that the base should be the same since I'm using the same paint. Let me know if that sounds like a good idea. Go ahead, drop a comment. If this video is helpful, please like and subscribe. Let me know what you guys would like to see next. Take care, guys, and happy creating.